I've been hearing about Love Island's racism allegations and how these men say one thing, but then they're covertly racist and possibly only fetishizing Black women for clout and money. I don't watch Love Island as I'm not really into dating reality TV shows. I'm just not that type of person. I don't even like dating apps. For me, everything should be organic. You meet someone through them noticing you, and they're attracted to you, and you are attracted to them, or the attraction grows. That's the world I prefer. Our modern relationships are setting up people to lie on TV. I mean, what do the producers expect them to do? To be honest and say, I don't like Black women. They're not my type. Or simply, I don't like her on TV, and expect them to not be called racist and also to remain in the show. Of course, they're not going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Now I swear to tell the truth and the whole truth.
They're not making an oath. And even with that, people still lie. The point is to win and become famous. So they will tell lies. Haha, even if that means faking love. I guess it's the risk involved with politics. Nah, I mean reality TV dating shows. Or just reality TV in general. I don't know why I went off on a political tangent there. Personally, I don't get fulfilled from this world of social media, reality TV dating shows, this kind of life, because I think what it does, it creates a life where we think we should always be in relationship or where we should be looking for someone, implying somehow that we're not enough by ourselves. And worse, to me, is believing that relationships have to look a certain way. Even the aesthetics of all these people, it's also selling a narrative to younger kids that we have to look a certain way to be partnered. No wonder people as young as 18 are now using Botox and fillers or going to Turkey. Besides, it's just not real life to me, hence reality TV. And if they create scenarios, script it, and then edit it, it's not reality really, is it? They may not all be scripted, I know, but they do edit it to look a certain way. Maybe I'm just being old-fashioned because a lot of my younger cousins are glued to reality TV shows and to Love Island. But truly, when it comes to dating, as in how you meet someone, call me a traditionalist because this modern way of dating, I believe, is causing women to attract men who are leeches, who prey on women's insecurities, and they're exploiting that. I can't just blame it on the men. There's also this innate desire for women to be famous through these type of avenues. Dating coaches have been revealing to us lately that when it comes to dating heterosexual men, they are perpetually inclined to engage in a competitive mindset. For straight men, the act of pursuing romantic interests is a strategic game. And the dating landscape essentially has become this battleground of calculated maneuvers, often overshadowed by the drive to win and get the girl, even if they don't really like her. And we're seeing this play on reality TV. It is for whatever win they can get. There's just hardly any room for genuine intimacy and the essence of connection. Remember, I was just saying the girl sees the guy sees you. That gets lost in translation. And we wonder why these relationships are so fake. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm delighted to have you join me with a grand welcome. My name is Fatima, and I'm a registered nurse and a life coach, empowering women through confidence coaching. So if you haven't already, grab yourself a cup of tea and just chillax. Anyway, let's get into this story. So this is a topic I probably would have avoided at all costs because A, it brings back memories from the past of things that I would rather forget. B, I don't know if I'm fully comfortable to share my opinion with others on these things. And C, I don't want to be polarizing based on my own experiences in interracial dating. D, it could trigger some people based on their mindset. But triggers are good at revealing what we believe and why. However, when I'm seeing all these things online, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I have things to say after censoring myself for over a decade. And besides, we are living in a dualistic, intersectional world of contrast, so we can't ignore or sugarcoat these things anymore. So a bit of background. My last ever interracial relationship was a short fling in 2011. He was 8 years younger than me, and I just couldn't comprehend the age difference. However, my longest interracial relationship lasted almost 10 years, well, 9 years and 10 months to be exact. For practically most of my 20s, I was in an interracial relationship. That's a decade of one's lifetime, you know. Time I'll never get back. which is why I know the information I'm sharing in this video is important for future decision making in the dating game. Being in that relationship took a lot of who I was. And when it ended, honestly, I hit a major identity crisis. And I suppose this is why I'm doing this video. We go to dating coaches anyway for just dating people who look like us. So why not talk about dating people who don't look like us? So what are my thoughts on interracial dating? My thoughts are based on my opinions and are in no way meant to influence you or to skew your views, opinions, or your desires. And if you are in an interracial relationship, don't take what I say as judgment. This is just my experience and what I learned from it, including some of my observations. Besides, I have friends, cousins, many people in interracial relationships. So of course you're welcome around me. I'm not a racist. I need to add that before people start accusing me. So my past involves being in interracial relationships only. Should I tell you about it? Comment if it's something you'd be interested in. Why is this relevant? Well, at that time, I didn't realize when I was dating my ex that I had these insecurities about being Black until they started showing up in the relationship. We dated for a few months when I sensed for a while that he wanted to say something to me, you know, that intuition, but he was holding back. So I had to ask him. And that's when he told me that when he informed his mom about going out with me, that I'm Black, his mom's reaction was, why Black and why African? Intersectionality. I just have to put it out there that it exists. To be honest, I was not surprised, as even Black parents, especially African Black parents, don't get it when you date outside of your race. Look, they even struggle with other African nationalities or a different tribe from the same country. So this is kind of human, I guess. I just want to humanize this. It doesn't make it okay, but it happens. So anyway, I asked him what he wanted me to do. Then he was like, well, I really love you and I want to be with you. And I'm just hoping my mum will come around to liking you after seeing what type of person you are. And at that time, he sent her pictures and she was like, she's cute. Well, that's what he told me. I had a skinny model-like figure then. I don't know why that's relevant. Naive me was like, yeah, let's go for it. Naive. Oh my goodness. A bit about him. One thing, his love for me was real. I loved him too. And I was so deeply attracted to this man. He was handsome with gorgeous green eyes. He catered well to my sapiosexual desires too. Other women would stare at him or try flirt with him, mainly white women, of course. But this man was devoted to me. I never worried that he was going to stray because I knew his heart for me. And we would laugh about it together when women tried it on, and each time he rebuffed them. Well, until the end. So fast forward, and I eventually met his mom, and she was initially nice until I started living with him, and she joined us. We started to live together. Biggest mistake, but hey ho. We live and we learn. As they say, you don't know anyone until you live with them, I guess. The mum started to insult me with covert statements loaded with racist microaggressions when it was just me and her at home, such as, you would have been more acceptable if you were not dark. She would say this in third-party speech as in, that's how other people will view it, excluding herself. Well, why tell me then, you know? She would jibe at me for being a dark African in subliminal commentary, especially when one of my very light-skinned friends, who was also African by the way, would visit. She was a really good friend to my ex and my ex-mother-in-law would say things like, your skin color is more preferred. Telling my friend, and when my friend left, she would ensure she reinforced this message to me. Her skin color is more acceptable. Can you imagine? The audacity, or should I say the caucasity? Do you know, I used to feel the pain in my heart, but I just used to act as if I'm okay and politely laugh. Ha 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 ha. The thing is, I'm not dumb, but I was brought up to be very respectful to adults and to be very respectful to your partner's parents as their potential or future in-laws. My ex and I had discussed marriage. He wanted to marry me. We were very serious. The last thing I wanted was rivalry or animosity with my future mum-in-law. Eventually, I mentioned it to my ex that your mum keeps on saying statements like, I'm not acceptable because I'm dark, but our light-skinned friend is what's acceptable. He confronted her. She downplayed it to be harmless. Then she would become all nice to me. But do you know something? Intuitively, I knew this woman did not like me. And this woman would rather her son was not dating me because of my skin color and racial background. But because she loves her son and she can see that he's got this 100% love, 100% devotion, 100% commitment to me, she needed to play along and support him. Otherwise, she would have caused such a rift and probably lost him. We have seen this type of story play out already. And I gave you this short snippet of my interracial relationship so you can get an idea of where I gained my wisdom from. And besides, an almost 10-year relationship is no joke. Some people's relationship don't even last a decade. But anyway, while I was dating him, one of the most amazing things that happened for me was how I saw myself. And I want to talk about this because it's about blackness, being black and also African. I grew up in a post-colonial African country. And if you've seen my videos, you must know this already. You know, one thing, colonialism taught black people that the whiter you are, the better and more superior you are. We see the effects of this on things like colorism, color hierarchy, etc., which is rife in many post-colonial countries. In Zimbabwe, where I grew up, there are mixed race people who call themselves coloreds. To be fair, they didn't call themselves coloreds. They were racially profiled to be called coloreds. So you had white race, then you had no other race. I think apartheid also did this. And then you had Asians and coloreds, then you had black people last. So they ended up adopting this racial term and call themselves coloreds. And to be fair, I can understand why. If black people were the bottom of the bottom of the shoe, why do you want to class yourself with those people? You might as well call yourself colored if you are colored, right? So in Zimbabwe, where I grew up, mixed race people, colored people, like what Tyler the singer calls herself. And I'll be very honest, a lot of them think that they're better than black Africans because they've got lighter skin due to their proximity to whiteness. And also they are mixed. Some actually mingle with their white side. And we are stating facts today. So if you're offended, I'm just stating facts. Unfortunately, a lot of light-skinned black people, the yellow bones or whatever category, think this way too, and not albinos here, albinos. And I'm not saying this negatively, as I know it's a byproduct of slavery, colonialism, and racism. Remember, it is difficult to dismantle the master's tools, even though I'm not going to say that's the mindset of every one of them, because I have some biracial black people who I adore for their pro-blackness. However, there is an energy of superiority that can be felt without saying words that people like me sense. And please don't think I'm accusing all mixed race people or light-skinned black people of this, because I know that's not true. But we are not going to deny that it also exists. That's not what we're doing in this video. We are going to be truly honest and genuine and authentic. Because when we are truly honest, genuine, and authentic, dialogue can be had, healing can be had. And healing where there's wounding or where somebody feels that they need it. Remember, it's not forced. So I remember being 15 and having one mixed race boy I went to school with fancying me and actually liking me. But I was too insecure. I doubted he would genuinely like me because of being black. I had internalized that I'm black and African and he might just want to sleep with me. We were friends at church, actually, so who knows? Maybe I was just projecting my insecurity, but I just want to show you how deeply this goes. I'm reminded as well of when I was 13 and my mom worked for an organization that hosted their employees at various hotels in the country. So we went to this hotel in a very beautiful part of Zimbabwe, the part that starts off when they were showing Top Gear, the last rerun or something like that. I'll try and put a picture for you to see the episode I'm talking about. So we went with one of my mom's colleagues who drove us there. Her colleague picked us up with his wife and two sons. And in the car, we never spoke apart from the adults speaking to each other. We then got to this place and there was a 14-year-old colored mixed race girl who befriended me. We were having so much fun. And I clearly remember this girl, she had like her hair plaited into two French side plaits. That's how much I remember her. And we became friends. She was 14 and I was 13. So you can imagine we had a lot in common. And I remember we were singing Aliyah together. So we were there for just the weekend, having so much fun. Me and this girl hanging out together. I can't even remember her name. And then on day 2 of our hotel stay, I'm walking out of my family's hotel room. And then I bumped into the youngest sons of the man who gave us a lift there. The boy then loudly blurted out, "I'm not attracted to you. You're not my type. She's my type." And he pointed to the mixed race girl who was standing by the hotel door at the time as she was waiting for me. This is all relevant to what I'm talking about here. So in my mind, I was like, I wonder why he thought I was attracted to him and why he had to tell me. My 13-year-old brain was perplexed as we had not spoken at all since me first meeting him. And up to today, as I'm shooting this video, I can't even remember what he even looked like or even tell you his name. I will not even be able to recognize him or even identify him. But I thought he was weird, and I'll tell you why. The Fatima that you see when she was 13 years of age, I did not fancy boys at all. In fact, I did not fancy anyone. Having a boyfriend was an abomination to me. I was a late bloomer, only really having my first real boyfriend at 18 years of age. Look, I still think 15-year-olds are too young to have a boyfriend. And I'm going to use the fact that they don't have a developed prefrontal cortex. Play with your friends. Get to know yourself before you start getting entangled. I also wondered why he needed to tell me that when I didn't even fancy him. It was just weird for me. The only explanation I have now is that maybe the boy knew the mixed race girl was looking, so he needed to say it out loud so that she hears it. As much as I didn't think much of it back then, I believe part of me internalized that hatred for dark skin, even though at that time I wasn't conscious of it. It did imprint in me to have a negative view of myself. I think somehow I absorbed the belief that I'm a dark black girl. No one will be attracted to me because I'm not attractive. And I say this because as time went on, years later, I did try and give in to having a boyfriend, but I remember being so uneasy and thinking that I'm not attractive. And when I looked back and I did a deep dive into these thoughts and the beliefs, it was largely because I didn't think men were attracted to a girl who was dark like me. Colorism rabbit hole. It's very deep. So dating my ex in our interracial relationship presented obvious challenges, especially when the whole thing with the mum started. But it was also very healing for me. He would tell me how beautiful I was, that he loved and adored my skin. It could be a fetish as well, but it gave me confidence. The confidence boost that this man gave me, I can attest to that. Every cell in my body responded to this as a truth, removing any doubt and slowly dissolving any negative imprints. It became like a new DNA imprint. I call it a DNA imprint because I stopped having this internalized hatred of my skin color and really started to love and accept myself. I even got to a point where his mum's subliminal racist microaggressions did not land on me, and I just repelled them. It felt more like it's her problem and not mine, but now I think, yes, true. But if you're wanting to be family, these things somehow add up until they start to affect you. So my ex and I eventually broke up. I initiated the original breakup as I struggled to be fully authentic in certain aspects about me. Part of me longed to reconnect to those parts that seemed to be a challenge in my interracial relationship. Yes, it is not always easy to be fully authentic in a relationship. I get that. And there are things that we can detach from and still thrive in our relationship pairings. However, this was a biggie for me. For example, I was brought up in a collectivist, big African family where certain things were very important to me. that my ex would trivialize. Our values and principles over the time started to clash, more so when his mom got involved, and my mom also got involved. And this would result in his family, including him, being very disrespectful on some aspects of my culture and cultural upbringing. That I became resentful towards him as I had compromised in things that he valued and that were European. But when it came to me, there was outright prejudice through disdain and scorn to the things that I valued that were African. And I just couldn't take it anymore. That's something that you have to factor when getting into an interracial relationship, as cultures differ and culture shapes personal identity. So you can't minimize or trivialize some of these things, you know? My very big African family and size also seemed to be a threat to his very small family of only a few people. Think my big fat Greek wedding.
Everyone, this is Ian.
My brother, Ted, and his wife, Melissa, and their children, Anita, Diane, and Nick. Over here, my brother, Tommy, his wife, Anzi, and their children, Anita, Diane, and Nick. And here, my brother, George, his wife, Frida, and their children, Anita, Diane, and Nick. Taki, Sophie, Kari, Nick, and Nikki, and I am Gus. We're all nice to them, you see it. And they look at us like we're from the zoo. Please. There's no work. There's no work, Maria. They're different people.
Exactly. And this only works when couples can be accommodating of the differences or they're not intimidated. Because I think my family size was a bit intimidating. So, of course, we broke up eventually. And when we broke up, his mom and dad phoned me and told me that I was not welcome in their family. Can I tell you, I was so surprised that they said this to me. When I'd been part of their family for almost 10 years, it was then I knew I was never part of the family. I recalled a memory from 2 years before we broke up, and we had an African traditional ceremony in preparation to get married, where my ex and his family were welcomed into my family. Before we did that ceremony, my ex had told me he told me to take his mum for coffee and explain the ceremony to her as she was a bit panicky. What happened in that coffee shop was so unexpected that it made one of my very good white English friends so upset, including her white English husband, who got to know. And to this day, they always comfort me. I never got to explain the ceremony to her, as she didn't even give me a chance. If I could reenact this scenario for you, you'd get what I'm trying to say. But just before I was about to explain it to her, she stood up and she shouted loudly, "Fatima, my son is not African." And she stormed out of the coffee shop. All I can tell you, it was so embarrassing, but it was also shocking. It left my mouth like this. I'm laughing now, but at the time, it was just, I don't know. That's all I can say. One thing I know, especially with what I know now, my nervous system took years to get over that. It felt like an assault on who I am, considering I was sharing and doing life with these people for almost 10 years. To add insult to injury, when we broke up, my ex's sister told me and my family to go back to the bush where we belonged. I'm smiling because that's when I realized that my ex's family didn't really see me as a worthy person. They just saw me as some bush animal because I'm African and because I'm a black, dark-skinned woman. Thoughts such as, "You were not good enough for these people," raced in my mind. You were black, and they never really accepted you or wanted you. It's not the amount of years or the sacrifices you put in the relationships that matter, Fatima. And I put in a lot of sacrifices. What matters to them is the fact that their son is no longer with you, a dark black African animal from the bush. Those were the thoughts that were just like swirling in my head at the time. So you can imagine how I was feeling. And when I became single, I had to then confront my dating preferences, as prior to that, I didn't want to date black guys, which I think could be perpetuated by self-hate. Not in all cases, as it is truly a preference for some people, and could be just attracted to each other, and you were all surprised that you attracted each other, but of different races. So I know it's not necessarily perpetuated by self-hate. Before you start accusing me of something. I initially thought I was not attracted to black men, but it turns out I was. But I didn't really trust black guys based from what I had grown up seeing. My thoughts were black guys will cheat on you as they're players and they aren't romantic. And I know that's not true. I'm just telling you where I was at that time. These were views I had until my trip to America changed everything for me, where I had a random encounter with the certain Mr. Johnson. But anyway, I don't want to get into my trip to America, but Mr. Johnson, anyway, just know that when I landed back on UK soil, I was blackety black, blackety black, blackety black, blackety black, blackety black, blackety black. You get the picture? The change was rapid and unexplainable. I don't even know what happened to me. And since then, I've only seen black men as my potential dating partners. Go figure. I think that deserves an applause. Didn't even go for that long, 10 days is all it took. But know this, it was mind shifting. Yeah. Now, this is where I want to talk about interracial relationships and what I learned. I want to look at the lessons that came from interracial dating. And I'll be looking at the pros, advantages, cons, disadvantages, or risks of interracial dating. And where there is a lesson, I'll state the lesson, including highlighting both the positive and negative outcomes that can arise from interracial relationships. While these reflections are rooted in my personal opinions and may carry a degree of subjectivity, I want to emphasize more on the complexities of dating outside your race so you do not embark on this journey blindly. As life has shown us, we live in a world where love knows no boundaries. That is essential to navigate the intricacies of dating outside your race. Cautiously, but with openness. And, I might add, it's not as glamorous as social media or TV adverts would have us believe. A con or disadvantage or a risk. There is a chance of being rejected for your skin color. You are at risk of facing racial prejudice, discrimination, xenophobia, and full-on racism. You have to be prepared to navigate the murky waters of white superiority and white supremacy, as you are bound to encounter individuals with that mindset, or may end up in scenarios of rather uncomfortable conversations where you feel you have to defend your blackness or your ethnic origins with supposed family.
You do have ideas that there shouldn't be interracial marriage. I've seen those clips. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, it's not that I don't think there should be interracial marriage. I am racist, I would say. I believe in the races. We live in a heavily racial world, and, look, sometimes we have racist feelings. Racist feelings like, I want to live in a white neighborhood. I don't want to live in a black neighborhood.
If you think about it, I tried very hard to fit into my ex's family, molding myself to be acceptable to them, but they still rejected and spat me out. There was no amount of good works, acts of service, or niceness that was going to make me the right skin color or European enough for them. So, what is the lesson? I ended up having such an epiphany on being a black woman. Accepting myself as a black woman, loving my skin, the tone of my skin, loving my hair, loving being African, loving everything about being black, and embracing it fully. Although being rejected was awful, it did turn into something positive for my self-image, sense of self, even my love for my heritage. So this became a positive. With time, rejection turned into self-acceptance. This I did through confronting myself. I had to confront myself and then do the work of learning to love me. This was emancipation. And it caused me to radically love my black people too. So much that I don't believe in trying to fit into whiteness, just so that an interracial relationship can work. Look, if the cogs don't fit, then question the relationship because it's not going to turn. On reflection, it's almost like the internalized self-hate and self-loathing that I carried was now transmuted and transformed into healthy self-love. So, takeaways for someone who's in such a situation? I would say to you, just love who you are. Don't try and fit in and be whatever these people want you to be. If they don't like you, don't love who you are. And if they've got any little hint of racism, girl, say bye. Don't even entertain that. That's too big for you to sit and be racially taunted and insulted. No love is too deep to absorb the hate of racism. Get out of there and go. Those are not your people. Doesn't mean you won't meet people who love you who are of a different race, but those ones are not your people. I couldn't tolerate dating anyone who blurts out words laced with racist undertones or microaggressions from out of their mouth. If that person doesn't know Black people, is unwilling to understand or accommodate Black lingo, and doesn't fully want to mix with Black people, I will stay away from them personally, and I'll blatantly say not to dating them. I'm not compromising who I am anymore. Neither should you be lost in race translation wars. Let me tell you, it's really challenging. It's not fun. But when you can all mix, it's lovely. And I think someone needs to hear this, hence I'm saying it this way. Can you just imagine having to compromise your race and your Blackness for others? How would you do that? It's like a cat trying to act like a crocodile when it's around crocodiles. The crocodiles will simply be like, stupid thing, and eat it. Weird example, I know. But I just realized the cat needs to know it's a cat and just be like, crocodiles are not my people, okay? They would never marry each other anyway. But an alligator and a crocodile could probably mix. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know why I have such a stupid example. So maybe I should have said an alligator trying to act like a crocodile. It doesn't work. Yeah. I should look into that. Do crocodiles and alligators ever mix? Interesting. I am now a stronger advocate for Black love. I do acknowledge that Black love comes with its own unique challenges, and I do want to talk about it because I just want this video to have a bit of balance. With that, I will segue into a different topic, as I think it is one of the reasons people, and in this case, why some Black women date outside their race. I think Black men date for different reasons, and I'm not a Black man, so I won't say. But there's a belief that dating white men is easier for Black women. And I read stats that found that Black women, white men marriages have a lower divorce risk than other interracial marriages, while white women, Black husband marriages might show a higher risk of divorce compared to white on white couples. I think it is interesting, and I'll address my thoughts on why I think this may be so. Based on my experiences and looking at the stats, I found that while race and culture pose significant challenges in my relationship with my ex, dating non-Black men was comparatively easier. Nevertheless, I do remain a strong advocate for Black love. Before delving into my reason, I want to articulate why I believe dating certain Black men can be more complex, and why, in particular, my experience of interracial dating felt easier, more straightforward. Being with my ex didn't feel particularly demanding for me as a woman, especially in terms of how I was expected to behave in my everyday life. I've noticed that when dating Black men, most of them seem to have this expectation for women to be submissive and to take on traditional gender roles like cooking, cleaning. These are life skills, I will add. Doing everything with babies or children. There's this desire as well for dominance that I've seen from Black men that can make relationships feel challenging. It's almost like they want to assert power by putting Black women in a humble position. And it's not all Black men, I will add. Of course, religious white men, the same could be said. There's also what seems to be a prevailing attitude among some Black men to tolerate or condone infidelity, which complicates Black on Black relationships. And if you want facts, just listen to Dr. Umar, look at Nick Cannon, Diddy, Cam Newton, hear the lyrics to rap music, R&B, or bashment. They must write what they truly believe. I think the music is inspired by real life, and I do listen to some of it, I will say. Additionally, I've observed that some Black men can be quite judgmental about things like virginity and often hold biased views towards single mothers or dating an older person. But in contrast, I found that many white men tend to be more open-minded about who they choose to date, not dismissing age, previous children, unless, of course, they have a racist belief, which would be then I won't date a person of a different color. And this point genuinely frustrates me because it highlights why many Black women are choosing to step away from dating Black men. And I need to express this candidly, as during my relationship with my ex, he didn't rigidly enforce traditional gender roles in our relationship. And yet we naturally gravitated towards certain roles that felt right for us. And there was also this flexibility to switch them up as needed without any pressure on each other. I also felt cherished and valued, and not merely seen as someone to serve or clean for him, nor seen as a mere sexual partner. There was mutual respect for both of us and our relationship, and I never had to worry about infidelity or him being distracted by other women. Trust was foundational in the relationship. And I think that's why it worked, despite the challenges that we were facing. A positive from my experience with my ex while on this topic is that he showed me what real love looked like and felt like when expressed and demonstrated. My ex showed me love from the get-go and was very expressive with his emotions. As much as I struggled in that relationship on aspects to do with race and culture, one thing I knew is that I was loved without a shadow of a doubt. Love was very much affirmed and shown. With friends who knew us back then, up to today, they still attest that it was very visible to them too. Yeah, I know that's my experience. It might not be everybody's experience. This takes me to another point where my interracial relationship taught me what love looks like. And it's sad to say, but I never experienced that kind of love with anybody else after that. I've had good relationships, but not that depth or height of love in comparison. And I want to be honest, as I'm a person who didn't grow up with my dad, so there was something about me that carried a bit of a wounded masculine. And for me to meet a masculine man who loved me, it did bring so much healing. My ex taught me to receive love from a man, because when you've got a wounded masculine archetype, you can actually shut off receiving love. In my first year of singleness, I did go on a few dates with a few white guys, and they too were very expressive, very open, and were very easygoing without coming across as demanding. But by that time, it was too fresh for me to be in an interracial relationship. I just wasn't in the right place, so I didn't end up dating them fully. I share this perspective as someone who spent my longest relationship in an interracial partnership. It's a complex issue, and I don't have all the answers. I'll let dating coach Anwar, who articulated my thoughts perfectly in his video, take it from here.
Black men are the hardest group of men to date. And if you don't believe me, you can look at the divorce rates. Black men that marry black women get a divorce rate that's at 100% higher than the average. Black men that marry white women are at a 200% divorce rate increase. Black women that date non-black men are anywhere from 20 to 44% less in divorce rate. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because most black women are dating and marrying black men. And there are certain challenges involved with that I think are important, so I wanted to share those with you so you understood. Am I saying that I don't want you to be with a black man? Not at all. 2/3 of my clients actually end up with black men, but I want to make sure that you're vetting them very well so that you get healthy, healed black men. Okay? Okay, so black men, they were enmeshed, so entitled, and they think that they're the prize, and they are looking for women to be mothers, or their mother was very highly critical, judgmental. So a lot of black men are actually running away from black women because they're running away from their mothers. So, and also, I want you to date everybody, right? I know that the biggest flex and in terms of being able to find success in your dating life is to be able to date everyone.
Let me just share my experience about dating black men. As a bit of a late bloomer who didn't date anyone until I turned 18, I dated this black guy who was a liar, willing to string me along, and when I refused to give up the goods, he turned into Mr. Nasty, so I had to break up with him. This was my first experience dating a black guy. Fast forward to after my breakup with my ex, and with the newly revived blackness within, I encountered certain behaviors, mindsets, and character manifestations amongst black men that I did not experience in an interracial relationship pairing. Apart from one black guy, but unfortunately we weren't compatible. As a result, I understand why black women end up going for interracial relationships, and maybe even putting up being in an interracial relationship because the benefits may outweigh the risk of a little racism, making it easier. I don't know, I'm alluding here that maybe an interracial relationship may not be truly their first preference, but the perks make black women settle for an interracial pairing than dating a black man. I'm probing. Comment in the comment section your thoughts. My thoughts on this were shaped way before I even got into an interracial relationship. Like, I don't believe in the patriarchy of entitled kings who don't take any responsibility or any accountability for anything that they do, but they believe that women should bow and submit to them. It felt like this attitude was prevalent in my cultural upbringing, and it is still quite widespread, unfortunately. Yes, I am pro-black love, but I'm challenged to defend black love when I notice instances where black men just won't uplift black women who look like their moms or their own sisters. Despite all that, I think it is still necessary for us to experience more fulfilling black love by still choosing to positively view each other, unless there's an agenda to have more mixed-race people in the world, as some conspirators say. I have nothing against mixed race people, by the way, as long as we're not perpetuating a way to eradicate and marginalize blackness on earth. My sister always says to me that I will be better off with a white man, as I have a very progressive egalitarian mindset, despite having certain traditional views. She says this as I don't have allyship to mindsets rooted in systems of oppression, such as patriarchy, sexism, and misogyny. So apparently that makes my potential suitors to be white men. It makes me wonder, when such thoughts are expressed and I question things like, so people assume black men are in favor of oppression? Make it make sense. People who are stopped and searched for simply existing and are incarcerated at disproportionate numbers are still seen as okay with oppression. To me, that means something is wrong. Who is wrong? I'm not sure who is wrong. It is a wrong stereotype, perhaps, of black men. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. But I always have a rebuttal for her that interracial dating would not be my first preference. And I believe I'll find love within black love dynamics. I'll find a black man who fits into the values and principles that I have. And if I don't find him, do you know what? I've accepted that it's okay for me to be happily single, because the last thing I want is stress, misery, and settling disguised as compromise. I'm not doing that. So you may still decide that you want to be in an interracial relationship. That's your choice. And I say go for it. But be warned, because if you're going to be in an interracial relationship, you will need to have a strong sense of self and self-identity. This means you must respect yourself, respect your blackness, and respect your race. To be an Oreo, a coconut, that just seems disingenuous. And if from watching this video you have somehow become aware that you are dating a white man because you have internalized self-hatred and self-loathing for being black, it doesn't mean don't date a white person, but I think it's important that your core identity is fortified, because we don't choose to come into this world with black skin, and pretending we aren't black is like being ashamed of your own self. Can you imagine being ashamed to be black when you're black? It does happen though. Yes, you could change it, but look what happens to people who try and change themselves. That I think it's easier to just embrace who you are and love who you are. I mean, people bleach themselves, and nowadays it is so good, but there is a rampant illegal bleaching industry causing skin and organ damage for the not so wealthy. Thankfully, I was never tempted to bleach my skin, because I think that skin bleaching is perpetuating self-loathing of one's blackness just to be accepted in society. Those are my views, and I know people have different views, as cosmetic surgery and enhancements are now as popular as TikTok. I know people in the entertainment industry probably use skin bleaching products to become more famous, but we have to think, are we trying to be in the entertainment industry? And to gain what? Besides, all these famous people with bleached skin and nose jobs to fit white aesthetics, imagine how their children will be towards their own appearance. If you're struggling with issues of self-hate and internalized colorism, I suggest you go to therapy for that. It's got a name. Now, positively, being in an interracial relationship healed me from being a self-hating black person who didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel worthy or feel lovable because of being black. As I extensively reflected on this topic, I could see how certain messaging in the media pushes specific negative narratives with connotations for black women, such as colorism and our desirability. It's important to challenge these assertions, because from the time I worked in hospitals since the age of 21, I realized that I was asked out by men of different races and even complimented for my skin. And I had white women complimenting too. Yes, some of that could be fetishization, but the truth is we do attract men from different ethnicities despite bearing black skin. Attraction is more than skin deep, and the world constantly shows us evidence that we do and can attract different men despite possessing very black melanated skin. And there are many non-colorist black men out there too. Of course, if they're colorist, let them roll. It's okay. It doesn't have to affect us personally, especially when we have worked on our own acceptance at a deep core level within. And if you're light-skinned and a man feels it's a flex to tell you that he's colorist, I wouldn't advise dating a colorist man, as they may have a tendency to only see you as an ornament. They're not prepared to love or value who you are, because if they like you for just being light-skinned or for being a yellow bone, it could also be a fetish or an ego stroke. Tomorrow they go for a different light-skinned woman. Majority of these cases reveal themselves in how they treat these preferred women, and it says a lot about them. And look, I've known men who go for light-skinned women and cheat with dark-skinned women. Now go figure. What I say is go for the man who loves and values you beyond fetishizing your skin. And when he truly loves you and treats you well, now that's a flex. So when I hear the Love Island debacle, I want to say shame on those men for not being authentic and or using their fetish for black women as a way to just be popular, but then be covertly racist. And I say shame on them cause that's embarrassing in this day and age. I'm sorry. Is it embarrassing though with the rise of white fascism? Maybe not. But anyway, you've got to do better by being honest not to date people you aren't attracted to. Especially now we know the harms of racism. We have to do better. And well done to the black girls from Love Island US and Love Island UK for leaving these men and to making an anti-racist stance that we will not accept racist treatment. Good on you for standing up for yourself and loving yourself enough to end it. As much as I don't watch Love Island, I'm glad to see these girls honor themselves and their blackness and walk away with dignity. Look, we have to maintain our dignity above all else. These were just my thoughts, and it was triggered by the Love Island stuff. But if you do meet a loving white man who genuinely wants to be with you and his family are very loving and accepting of you, I say, go ahead, girl. Do you and enjoy yourself. Go and be loved. Be loved where love comes from. Some white families are so small and not very close, like ethnic families, that you will not have much to do with them. And if your non-black partner is very loving and supportive of you, again, I say, you go ahead, girl. Date, have fun, enjoy being loved. With all that being said, I will reiterate that you need to question why you are dating outside of your race and why that man outside of your race wants to date you. I'll include those at risk of romantic scams as well here, because why is that young person of another race wanting to date you, a retired person or a retired postmenopausal woman? Huh? Tell me. Be authentic to your values. Know why you are entering an interracial relationship. Is that truly who you are and what you want? But I also say do a background check on who you want to date. Meet their family before becoming too serious. I think that's important because some people are only aware of their own racist views or biases, including those of their families, when they start dating you. Maybe they shared those remarks with their family and didn't recognize that they were racist until they ended up in an interracial relationship. So I would scan for that. And if you find any hint or appearances of what could be racist, ask them politely in a curious, non-attacking way that when you say that or said that, what did you mean? Or what were your thoughts? Because sometimes it's before they have alternative views, which is possible. Find out where they stand. Good one is their political view. That is always very telling. You just will support certain people when you have certain views. Okay? Think of my situation. I had views of not wanting black love until I faced racist in-laws who were nasty and acerbic towards me that I was open to new viewpoints or to a new way of thinking. Of course, the universe threw in a Mr. Johnson to cement it all, and my eyes and heart suddenly accommodated the idea that black love was good. It was okay. Somehow it felt like a waking up to myself and to my blackness, a reckoning. It felt very spiritual, like a soul rebirth and alignment into authenticity. That sounds so woo. Previous to that, I'd put myself into this neat little box that made me fit into what was acceptable to my ex, to his mom, and was acceptable in an interracial relationship. But I wasn't being fully authentic to me or fully expressing being black and African. Even if a white man wants to ask me out now, my answer would be no at the time of doing this video. You could say maybe I was so traumatized by what I went through when my relationship with my ex ended. I don't know what it is, but I'm very suspect now. You know, maybe I was traumatized. I'll admit that part. I don't even want to risk the chance of having in-laws that are racist towards me and my partner co-signing with racism. I just wouldn't put up with it. I'll simply pack my bags and I'll be gone and you'll never hear from me again. One of the things that used to secretly concern me was this thought where I would imagine having biracial children, and then the racist side of the family would try and segregate my children because of the one drop rule. Or they'll show love to my children for being more lighter skinned, but continue to discriminate against me. I did ask myself, how would I take that in the future? How would I accept that? I would ask myself what I thought this would do to my children. And I think this also became a deciding factor when I recognized that my children may or may not be accepted by their white grandmother. I knew I did not want to bring children into the world that have to struggle for acceptance and risk facing discrimination and racial prejudice from within their own blood relatives for what they didn't choose. That would bring so much pain and confusion, and it is unfair. No wonder some of the white passing or racially ambiguous biracial children end up at times rejecting the less privileged side of their bloodline, even though in the world they fare better than black kids. And we all know what that side is, right? Hmm. I will say, though, that I have observed that when an older white man dates a black woman where he was married before and already has white children, this type of relationships seem not to face certain challenges. And I'm going to infer here that because children are not a factor anymore, the men can freely love the black woman without anyone worried about eugenics or contaminating the white gene pool, that one drop rule. He is older and no longer cares what people or his family think, so he can date who he wants, or maybe who he always preferred. And if he's older, there's no mummy to interfere or no parent to interfere. Those are theories I have. It would be good to hear your thoughts on this. So, in conclusion, I find myself conflicted with the complexities of interracial dating. I understand the allure that draws black women to white men and to individuals from other races. I truly do. Yet my heart now remains unwaveringly committed to promoting and celebrating Black love. Because if we don't promote it ourselves as Black people, who's going to do it for us? Right? And if we don't celebrate it, who's going to do it for us? We don't get a medal for it, I know, but it's good for us to just love who we are. Do you know, I hold on to the belief that one day the universe will bless me with my ideal partner, a Black man who embodies the perfect blend of everything I've ever desired. I will continue to affirm this vision, and I believe in the abundance of love that awaits me. This means I'm choosing to rise above the negativity often perpetuated by social media and even my own stereotypical biases about Black love, trusting instead in the promise of a genuine connection. I am openly curious as when real love, safe, healing love shows up, it may not be dressed up in the familiar. This is a journey that requires me to remain open to the unexpected. As love may not arrive in the form I anticipate, I might change my mind. After all, life is inherently undefined, and therein lies its beauty. I invite us to engage in this vital conversation as it helps us grow, and I believe it connects us as we notice our shared struggles and wins. If you have seen this video up to this point, I want to say thank you. I am Fatima, a life coach specializing in helping women build personal confidence using self-development tools and techniques. In my videos, I explore relevant social topics to deliver empowering messages that encourage you to live authentically and in alignment with your core truths, core values, and life principles. My passion for this work stems from my own journey. As you can see, I once struggled with low self-esteem, poor self-image. I had no confidence and I feared using my voice. I gained valuable insights through life lessons and experiences that I now share to help other women thrive. I believe that by sharing this wisdom, I can inspire and guide you to step into your most powerful, confident life where you stop settling, but actually receive what you want and desire. It starts with knowing what it is you want and desire. And most women don't know this, but I'm here to help you get there. Or we think it's not okay to want the things that we want and desire. But I'll help you. I'll give you permission. If after watching my videos, you feel inspired to explore your own personal struggles, I offer personalized coaching and accountability to help and support you in achieving your dreams, goals, and desires. You can reach out to me via the link in the description. I look forward to connecting with you and supporting your journey towards empowerment. and for some of you, your journey towards emancipation. I love that word. That album, Mariah Carey album, The Emancipation of Mimi, one of my favorite albums. So to end this video, I just want to say it's important that you love who you are and that you love the skin that you're in. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like and subscribe so that you and I can become YouTube friends. Remember to comment, as I'd love to know your views, and please be respectful. This is just a YouTube channel. Don't take things personally. Bye, and you take care.